song by Melissa Felipe, I Know That God Loves Me. This is a great reminder.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Powell. Welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek and our service today.
And I'm Brenley Rada. Welcome to our service.
This is our second week back in the sanctuary. Very exciting. And we've got more of our production team members here with us today. We've got our production team manager, Annie Love Villiers, with us today. We have Peter Weiler behind the camera for the first time today. And we have Larry Curtin up in the sound booth, as you have seen him many times in person. And of course, we've got John Nichols, who's been with us now, I think, about 13 weeks in a row. And he's on switch and sound. So big, big thanks to our production team and to all that goes on behind the scenes to get ready for our Sunday services.
Yeah, it really feels great to be back in the sanctuary.
Yes.
So let's begin our service by going over to the home of our music directors, Lisa and Tyler's, for a song that you may know.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. So it's great to be with you, and with everything that's going on right now, we thought it'd be nice to sing a song by Melissa Felipe. I know that God loves me. This is a great reminder that love is always there, and we have all we need. I know that God loves me. I have all that I need. My eyes are open and now I see. I let go and I am free. I know that God loves me. I have all that I need. My eyes are open and now I see. I let go and I am free. God knows
God loves me.
all
I have all that I
need.
My eyes are open and now I see. Let go and I am free. I know that God loves me. I have all that I My eyes are open and now I see. Let go and I am free. I know that God loves me. I have all that I need. My eyes are open and now I see. I let go and I am free. I let go and I am free. I let go and I am free.
Lisa and Tyler. So now let's ground in unity. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. Our vision for the world is we envision a spiritually awakened world where all life thrives in conscious oneness. Our mission is who we have come here to be. Let's say this together. We are a loving, inclusive community, expanding and living our divinity in sacred service for all. Our core values are love, connection, service, and wisdom. If you are with us for the first time today, welcome. You are invited to fill out a connection card, and those can be found and are available for everyone on the Watch Live page. You may submit a prayer request, and our prayer team will pray with you throughout the week. You may also share feedback or request information.
Our classes and events are currently held online, and you can also access them by phone. We have several to highlight this week. Oh, that's me.
Yes.
We toss these announcements back and forth each week, so it's always fresh and surprising sometimes for me. You are invited to join the Metaphysical Romp this Wednesday. This class is on metaphysics, is hosted by Unity of Davis, and it's taught by Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute faculty member Reverend Paul Hasselback. You might remember Paul. He came and spoke to us about 1.5 years ago, I think. Anyway, Paul's going to provide this metaphysical romp, which will be really meaningful, I think, and very foundational for Unity teachings. So if that is appealing to you, check out and actually go ahead and register yourself at transformmyself.org. Select the events calendar to pre-register for this class.
And also beginning Wednesday, you won't want to miss Applying the Tools of Dr. Joe Dispenza. The topic will be tools to shift your COVID anxiety to a sense of well-being. During this class, you'll shift into states of clarity, abundance, healing, and more. By the end of class, you will have surrounded yourself with a sense of well-being. This is an ongoing class, and it meets the third Wednesday of every month via Zoom and is led by Tracy Appleton. Amid a worldwide pandemic, soaring unemployment rates, protesting in the streets to address the issues of racism, and a direct change to day-to-day living patterns, anyone feeling grief? Feeling something?
I hope.
That you just can't label it? You need to talk about it. Join two Unity ministers, Richard Carlini and Bill Englehart, for a special workshop called Good Grief, Living, Dying, and Grieving in America Today, Finding Meaning, on Tuesday, June 22nd and the 30th. You will need to pre-register for this webinar through our website to receive the code to enter the webinar. The deadline to pre-register is Sunday, June 21st at midnight. So please visit Unity's website today and reserve your spot.
Well, that sounds really good, and I'm very grateful for Rich and Bill offering that. Way back in the day, we were all prayer chaplains together, and they have a radio show now together on grief. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful two-part workshop. I hope you'll consider going. And we have, drum roll please, very exciting news to share with you.
Yes, we do. Our labyrinth will be completed this week.
Woo! This is like the new applause on online. And we're going to celebrate with a short and meaningful labyrinth dedication ceremony on summer solstice. That's this coming Saturday from 7 to 7:30. You may attend this free in-person event by registering in advance. The link can be found on our website and on the Facebook event page. And our Facebook page, by the way, is, as you might have guessed, Unity of Walnut Creek. Plan to arrive, if you would, by 6:30 to check in. We have to capture everybody's contact information to help the county with contact tracing. And of course, masks are required for this event and will be physically distancing.
We will also record and stream live on Facebook. Come and walk the labyrinth at your leisure anytime after Saturday's event. For physical distancing, we'll ask people not to be on the labyrinth that day.
And I just want to add, the recording will also be on our YouTube channel if you don't have Facebook, so you will be able to view it from online afterwards.
Oh, following our service today, we invite you to log on to Zoom about 12:45 for virtual patio conversations. Prayer chaplains are also available to pray with you during this time.
I just want to honor Brenly because I go off script a lot and she just picks up the pieces wherever they fall. So bless you, darling. Please see our website for a full listing and login information for all these events and more. If you are not receiving our e-news, which is a weekly center point, you can sign up for that with a connection card on the Watch Live page and stay informed.
Now, as we prepare for our time of meditation, let's ground with our statement of faith. Let's take a deep breath together. And settling into our hearts, Another deep breath together. Please join me. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God.
Feels good to ground that way. And as we do so, we're preparing now for our time of meditation. I want to share a special reading with you, and that will be followed by music by Love Eternal called The Garden, and then some guided meditation and silence. And the reading comes from my mom, actually. It's one of her published poems. Her name is Jan Powell, and it's called The Bed of Life. It's actually published in the Prairie Light Review. Buried beneath the fertile, I struggle. Push upward, then break through like an arrow, shooting from the depth. Soaring above and beyond the bed of life, another has arrived before me. Standing proud, straight, and tall. As if no one or anyone can see the loneliness of this single stalk. Each day I push, I pull, I strain, reaching heights of the lonely one. The bright strengthens my stem, like a light buried within. Drops moisten my small leaves, like a flood of tears, gently caressing. Petals flutter as I acknowledge the forlorn, desolate, lone bloom. Side by side we stand, erasing the separation. The earth supports our stance.
Greetings, Walnut Creek.
Hello.
Hoping you're healthy and well and safe. And we're Love Eternal. We're going to play a song for you called Garden.
Thanks for having us.
I believe in the garden, pure and true. I believe in the children. I believe in you. I believe we shall rise up one day and create a world that works for all. I believe in this earth. I believe in the call. But most of all, I believe that love is gonna guide us home. And most of all, I believe that love is gonna guide us home. I believe in the garden, pure and true. I believe in the children. I believe in you. I believe we shall rise up one day and create a world that works for all. I believe in this earth. I believe in the call. But most of all, I believe that love is gonna guide us home. So most of all, I believe that love is gonna guide us home. Love is gonna guide us home. Love is gonna guide us
love is going to guide us home. So we take a moment to breathe in. Into that love that points us toward home. Into that place when we arrive home. That is the very essence and presence and knowing and experience of love. We take a moment just to breathe, to allow ourselves to become even more centered and still. So many things we believe in our minds, but this is a path now of the knowing of our hearts. Our hearts know the way home. Our hearts know how to navigate through chaos, confusion, uncertainty, divisiveness. Our hearts unite in the place of oneness, wholeness, truth, kindness. Most of all at this touchstone right here within us. Place from which we all began and will return. Home. In the home of our hearts, in the sanctuary within our hearts, we know truth. We have a sense of all is well. Right now and going forward. And so let us rest in this place where love points, this homing place within us. And then let us rest in the love we find here. It moves through our beings like a healing balm. Restores us. Rejuvenates us. Let's let our thoughts fall away now and enter into that silent space of home, into the essence and the infinite experience of love in the silence. And as we emerge from our time of silence, we never leave home, we take it with us. Home base, safe at home base. It's where we all gather and celebrate. It's where we jump up and down in joy and congratulate one another. Where we have reached home with joy and safety and love. We've done it together in collaboration, as a team, as one human family, remembering home. Home within the place from which we've come, the stuff of which we're made. Love. And so it is.
I believe in the garden, pure and true. I believe in the children. I believe in you. I believe we shall rise up one day and create a world that works for all. I believe in this earth. I believe in the call. But most of all, I believe that love is gonna guide us home. To most of all, I believe in love. Love is gonna guide us home. Love is gonna guide us. Love is gonna guide us home. Love is gonna guide us home.
Wow, thanks so much to Love Eternal, guiding us home. I'm curious what unity smells like. I know it's been a while since you've been here, so you might not know what the sanctuary smells like. I'm trying to get a whiff right now myself of what it is that it smells like. And I know that seems like an odd way to start this talk, but it reminds me of a story. And the story is about Father Gregory Boyle, who's the founder of Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles, and he's also a Jesuit priest who was for a very long time the priest of the Dolores Mission. And he tells a story about how at the Dolores Mission they would often have homeless men spend the night at the church, and often that would happen the night before they had their services. And so they worked really hard afterwards to make the church foo-foo. They said foo-foo it up to get a nicer smell. And they would put Love My Carpet all over the carpets and vacuum everything, and they would put out air wicks and they'd burn incense right before the 7:30 a.m. Mass and do everything that they could, potpourri in all the corners. But every time it seemed like the grumbling would begin as people started pouring in for that 7:30 a.m. Mass. And so Father Gregory Boyle started out his homily with that question. What does the church smell like, he said. And people were just kind of gazing this way and that, trying to avoid eye contact with him. Nobody wanted to say out loud. He said, come on now, what does the church smell like? And Don Fell, an older man, he didn't care what anybody thought, and he said, it smells honestly like feet. And from there, the conversation went. And he said, all right, thank you. Why does it smell like feet? And somebody else says, because a bunch of homeless men spent the night here last night. And he said, right, that's right. And he said, and why would we have those men spend the night here? And somebody said, because we committed to do it. And he said, that's right. And why else would we do that? And somebody said, well, because it's what Jesus would do. And he said, okay. And then a man stood up real tall and proud, and he bellowed out, it smells like commitment in here. And Guadalupe waved her hands wildly, and she said, it smells like roses in here. And everybody uproared with laughter, because suddenly they could share and embrace in another human being's odor, because there was a shared purpose, there was a shared understanding. And did it change the way the church smelled? No, but it sure changed everybody's understanding. And that commitment to understanding is what I want to talk about today. I'm committed to understanding, and I think you probably are too. That commitment for me goes deep into a desire for healing and equality. I'm committed to understand, to see those blind spots within me removed, to begin to unearth the ignorance within me, to begin to work with what is here, to understand, to better understand. I want to gain a greater understanding of Black people's experience in America. I want to understand our history, because you know there were pages and pages left out of our history book. I want to know those stories that were omitted from those places. I mean, I do and I don't want to know them, because I know that they're really hard to learn about. But it's that hard work that we are called to now. It's the hard work of understanding. It's the heart work of understanding. It's the spiritual work of understanding. And you know, that willingness for us will learn so many things. Did you learn about Juneteenth in school? I didn't. Juneteenth is coming up this Friday. It's June 19th. Juneteenth is the day when the slaves in Texas learned they were free. It was by then 1865, but the Emancipation Proclamation happened in 1863. So for 2 years, they didn't have word that they were free. That's what Juneteenth is. That's why people in Texas especially, but now it seems there's more of a movement for some kind of national holiday for freedom from slavery. That sure seems like something we have a bunch of holidays I don't even understand. So doesn't that seem like something that we might put on the agenda now? That we might have put on the agenda a long time ago, but here we are now. So, you know, as what's that saying? I forgot, my sister has some saying about 2020 vision, 2020 hindsight, but anyway, I'll think of it sometime, tell you maybe next week. So what is it that we want to understand? You know, one of the things that, and for all of it, it's going to be a little bit different, right? From where we stand, from who we are, from our background, from our desire and our passions. So I can tell you that I have a deep passion to understand what the divine in me is calling me to do and to learn about and to step into and to enact. And I have a deep desire and need to understand what it is that I can do to help support our community, to move forward, to deepen our own understandings, whatever that may be that is up for us right now. And, you know, I think we need to go deep with this too. You know, I'm going to challenge us not just to widen our understanding, because I think we're all probably singing the same song on that, but to make it a 360-degree kind of understanding. And so what that means, because if, you know, to really practice our inclusivity, to really full on and practice what we embrace as inclusivity and oneness, there's going to be those places, those really hard places that we've been dealing with for a long time, where our values don't don't seem to line up with someone else, where we can't really understand how they could commit such brutal acts of violence, where we can't understand where the hatred's coming from or where the fear is coming from. And we know, I mean, we have a sense of, because we've been around long enough to understand that there's hurt underneath that. And so to be willing to work together, to heal, to really come to understand. It's much like what the Truth and Reconciliation process in South Africa, where there was, it's not perfect, but it's been a process of coming to understand one another, to hear each other's stories, the difficult ones too, the ones that you may not agree with, the ones that you feel maybe adamantly opposed to. That's 360 degrees of understanding. Understanding is one of our 12 powers in Unity, one of our key teachings in Unity. It came originally from Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's teacher, Emma Curtis Hopkins, who taught the powers of high mysticism, the jewels of high mysticism. And from that, Charles Fillmore, one of our co-founders, brought forth the idea of the 12 powers of humankind. Understanding is one of those. Understanding is more than just a mental understanding, although that's a really important part of it, is an intellectual understanding. It's also more than that. It's like a fully digested understanding, So yes, we take in information and knowledge, but then in a spiritual way, it becomes sort of a digested, a heart knowing, if you will, or even down to this power of wisdom that's located in our solar plexus. So understanding is located in the prefrontal cortex, is one of the places where it's located, and it's also located underneath our feet, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So understanding is both that knowing, but it's also, like I say, that sort of the deeper knowing, right? The innate knowing. We can understand something from an intellectual standpoint, but then there's that, oh, now I understand, right? It's that kind of landing understanding. That's what we're after. It may start with schooling ourselves, educating ourselves, having conversations, reading, watching videos, taking classes and so on, and that's all important. But it's what we do with that. It's the contemplation, the reflection, the conversation, the digestion that's a really big part of this understanding. So understanding is also represented by the color gold. And understanding is golden, isn't it? It's a golden thing to be understood and to understand one another. And it's, I think, what's really called for right now. So you might remember the biblical king, King Solomon. He was the successor to his father, King David. And he became a king when he was 15 years old. So a pretty young man to inherit this enormous kingdom and be expected to lead it. And so God came to him in a dream. And in the dream, God asked him, what is it that you want? What is your desire, Solomon? And Solomon said this. He said, I am only a child. I do not know how to go out or how to come in. He said, give your servant, therefore, an understanding heart. Now, God was really pleased. He didn't ask that the lives of his enemies be taken. He didn't ask that he himself have a long and healthy life. He didn't ask for riches or glory or status. No, he just wanted an understanding heart. And so God said, you got it. You got that understanding heart, and I'm going to throw in the riches and the honor and the long life and everything else you could possibly desire. And so King Solomon had a very peaceful reign. They say that he had a very united monarchy because he ruled with an understanding heart. In fact, ruled is probably the wrong word. He extended an understanding heart to his people. And that's what we are called to do, isn't it? That's what I think all of us, well, I can't say all of us, but I hope many of us in our community are wanting and praying for an understanding heart for ourselves, for our community, for our world. Because with that, so much comes, right? With that comes possibilities of greater harmony, greater peace, a sense of security and safety and freedom, and all of the things that I think we hold as dear and important values to us as a human family. this isn't easy work. I mean, if we really dive into this, if we really go the distance with the idea of coming to understand racial inequality and trying to right the injustices of our world and experience real justice and real peace, it's not easy work, and it is deep spiritual work. Don't be fooled by thinking it's all about the exterior or the, what's going on around us. Because of course there's a lot going on inside of us in response, isn't there? And it's that process. So for many of us who are white, the norms of life are fairly natural because they were made for us and they were made by us. And so beginning we've lived sort of in this sort of ignorance is bliss kind of state, many of us. And I know I'm speaking for myself, and I hope I'm not only speaking for myself, so that's why I keep saying some of us and many of us, and I know you'll find your place in here, and you may not always agree with what I'm saying. So I'm hopeful that I'm carrying a message that you can relate to, that we're in simpatico with. And so we've been in that ignorance is bliss state, and because we haven't looked too closely or felt it too deeply maybe, or really heard. And I think we need to forgive ourselves and move on from that and not get hung up in guilt, because there's much to do. And there's much, we wake up when we wake up. We become aware when we become aware. And when we become aware enough, and enough of us become aware, things tip. That critical mass happens, change happens. Make no mistake, we are in a civil rights movement. It's happening now, right? We all see it around us. And so we can join it, we can be a bystander, or we can put our head under the sand. It's our choice. And I, for one, will not put my head under the sand. So I hope you're with me. I wish you were in here right now and we could be amening together. But I'll just know that we are feeling together, that we are walking together. And even though we may have different perspectives on this, it is about 360 degrees of understanding, so no one gets left out. No voice, no heart, no mind, no passion for what change might and could happen together. So I remember from our inclusivity class, some of you took practicing inclusivity with me maybe it was a year ago, I can't quite remember exactly when we did it, but Sharif Abdullah tuned into one of our classes, and he said, he's the author, and he said, you are going to get it wrong. Just, know that. You're going to get it wrong. You're going to make mistakes, but keep trying. So yesterday I was texting with an African-American friend of mine, and I said something, it was sort of benign, but it was like, a mistake. And I was looking for the emoji, the embarrassed emoji, and I couldn't find it. And I said to her, I'm going to have that at the ready, because I think I'm going to be needing to use that embarrassed emoji a lot stepping into these conversations. And we both just had a good laugh over it. And we need that, right? We need laughter. We need to lighten it up. It's serious stuff, and we need to be willing to jump in, make mistakes, know it's going to be messy, and laugh at ourselves, and then keep on moving. Keep on moving together with courage, which comes from the word heart. Take courage. So we can approach this with a beginner's mind, with that kind of curiosity. I love what Solomon said. It was such an interesting way to say it, that I'm a child and I don't know how to go out or come in. It's like I don't know how to start, but we do. We're smart people, and we're not children. We're adults. Most of us who I'm speaking to are adults. We've been around for a while. We have a sense of maturity. So we do know. We're smart people. Many of us have gotten degrees and done all kinds of work in the world. And how did we do that? Well, we knew. We just got on the computer and we did a little research, right? We signed up, we enrolled, we took action. We know how to do that. So we don't need to be in a state of paralysis. Hopefully we're alive and awake and alert enough now that we're in movement rather than in that kind of state anymore, if we were at one time. So we can ask ourselves then, in that beginner's mind, in that state of curiosity, what do I want to know? What do I want to learn? What do I want to learn maybe about the history that I missed? Or what do I want to learn from people's experience, from Black people or people of color's experiences? You know, what am I willing to ask? And just listen. Just ask people to tell you their stories. If you can hold a listening space without, you know, overlaying lots of opinion, and just ask and listen and learn. And be a silent witness of, and somebody who can hold that kind of loving space and learn from that experience. And what is Spirit asking from me now? That question, I think, is always a good one to have present for us, no matter what's going on. But in this context, it's good to keep asking that. What is Spirit asking for me now? You can even ask it every day of yourself. What is asked of me today? How can I contribute today to resolving an issue like this? How can I help contribute my spirituality, my consciousness, my walk, my desires, my hopes, my sense of life purpose, my energy, my time and talent? It'll be different for all of us, but it's a good question, I think, to ask of the Spirit within us. And we will always be guided to what is ours to do. We only have to listen. And follow is good too. So my current prayer is, lighten up my ignorance so that I may see and know and act more responsibly. We have that ability to respond to this current movement, and what is responsibility but that ability to respond, right? So what is that for us? We ask and we listen. It's a potent time. It's an open window for evolutionary change. So next time you have a negative reaction to something, this is also part of this kind of approach of curiosity in beginner's mind. Maybe it would just be helpful to ask another question. I'm curious about that. Can you tell me more? Can you share more about where you got that perspective, or how that developed for you, or why that's so important to you? And then just, you know, we can learn so much by asking the right questions and listening of ourselves and of one another, of our own group of racially homogenous folks, and of people across racial lines, and of our own Unity community and the beautiful, you know, we don't have a lot of racial diversity, but we do have some, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's something we can learn from and share with each other. So one of the things that I think we've come to understand is that we've been sleeping, and now we're waking up. Love Eternal has a beautiful song about just that. So let's take a moment to watch and listen.
I was sleeping, now I'm awake. While I was sleeping, made some mistakes. I must have hurt you. I can see it on your face. It's not too late. this world is sleeping, starting to awaken. Humankind is at the edge, and there's so much at stake. But I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late.
And so, like Jared and like Solomon, we were sleeping and we were dreaming, but we're awakening now. And as we awake, what do we ask for? What's on our lips from that dream? It is that understanding heart that we are after. And it is on the way to that understanding heart, all the ways that we have spoken of that we can get there, all the ways that we can educate ourselves. The last being walking our talk. Not the last, but one of them being the actual application of what it is that we come to understand, the actual embodiment of that, of what is ours to do in the world and to act in the world. That's that part, that second part of understanding. It's interesting that it was located, that 12th power of understanding, located in the prefrontal cortex of our brain, that place where scientists say we reason and we're more reflective, but also underneath our feet. That underneath our feet, standing under us, is the power of understanding. That place where contact is made between our foot and Mother Earth. There is an understanding that I am a divine human being on the earth, that I am embodied at this time for a purpose and for a reason, and to perpetuate the ideals of spirituality and the essence of God that I hold and that I bring forth and that I have been formed into being through me, that I become a channel, that I become aware of and grounded in the truth, while I am also in that space of transcendent divine intelligence. So that understanding is both underneath our feet and also in that place of divine intelligence is really key, isn't it? I think it is. And so I think what it demonstrates for us, that it isn't just about a learning and an understanding in that way, and it isn't even just about that digested understanding that I talked about in the heart and the power of wisdom, but it's all the way down to the soles of the feet, and maybe coming up from the soles of the feet when we stand in truth, when we stand for truth, when we stand united with one another. That's a kind of understanding too. One of the protesters' signs said, "I understand that I don't understand, and still I stand." And isn't that, as my father would say, isn't that the truth? I understand that I don't understand, and still I stand. That's it, in a nutshell. That's what we're about, is to be willing to recognize I don't get it all. In fact, I don't get a whole lot. And day after day, we awaken to, wow, there's so much I didn't know or I didn't pay attention to. It's not that we didn't have access to it. We just, maybe I didn't pay attention to. And now there's an opportunity to stand in truth, to stand for truth, to stand beside our brothers and sisters and make lasting change that is just for all, that is in service to all, that is loving and inclusive like our community. So understanding takes a willingness to heal. It takes a willingness to listen. It takes a willingness to be side by side. The story demonstrates it, I think, really beautifully. Brian Stevenson wrote a memoir called Just Mercy. And he is an attorney and also the founder of the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. He said that they have a little museum, and they started doing this thing where they would give people a jar, and they would ask them if they wanted to go out to one of the lynching sites and collect some dirt from that space in honor of the individual who lost their life there in that cruel and brutal way. And so for a lot of people, they heard the presentation and some chose to take the jars and do this and some didn't. And they would also be sent with a memo about that area, about where it happened and the person's name and information about the lynching that took place there. So there was a middle-aged African-American woman who was in one of these presentations. And she said that, she tells a story about how she was nervous about it, but felt called to do it. Ever feel like that? Maybe right now? Nervous about this, but called to do something? And so and it was a pretty remote area. She felt nervous about going by herself, but she decided to go ahead. And so she took her jar and the memo, and she went out to this space, and she started to dig with her little garden trowel. And she said she looked up, and there was a man in a truck who drove by and slowed. And she got really nervous, and her heart started to beat. And he turned around, and he drove by the other way, and he looked at her, and he stared, and she got more nervous. And she said then he pulled over, and he got out, and it was this big white man, and he started walking toward her. And she remembered what she'd been told is that you don't have to say why you're there and what you're doing. You can say you're just getting dirt for your garden. And so she was going to say that. And he came up and he said, "What are you doing?" And she said that something came over me and I just had to tell him what I was doing. And I said, "I'm digging dirt here and I'm putting it in this jar because a man was lynched here in 1931 and I want to honor his life." And the man said, "Is that paper there, something about that?" She said, "Yeah." So he handed her the paper, or she handed him the paper, and he read it. And he said, "Could I help you?" She was stunned. And so he got down on his knees beside her, and she went to give him her garden trowel, and he said, "Oh, no, you use that." She said this man started throwing his hands in the dirt and digging really deep. Well, she was digging with her garden trowel. And she was really feeling, the passion with which he was digging. She said his hands were getting black with the soil, and he just kept on digging. She started to cry. And he said, "Have I upset you?" And she said, "No, you're blessing me." And so they kept on digging together and filling the jar. And then she said after a while, she noticed he had stopped digging and his shoulders were shaking. And she looked and he was crying, and she put her hand on his shoulder and she said, "Are you all right?" And he said, No, I'm not." He said, "I'm afraid my grandparents were involved in this lynching." And she said they just sat there crying together and filling that jar. And then he said, when they were done, "I'd like to take a picture of you with the jar." And she said, "I'd like a picture of you with the jar." This must have been before selfies. And so they each took pictures of each other. And then they went to that exhibit and they placed it together. Now, Brian Stevenson says that not every story of restoration ends that beautifully and that happily, but we just keep on doing the work. We keep on offering this to our people. And he said we have, so many of these jars that are honoring these folks in this place. It's unbelievable that lynchings are still taking place in 2020. It's not just something of the past. And the only way that we can stop them is if we're willing to cry those tears together, if we're willing to dig that dirt together, if we're willing to fill those jars together, these humble honorings. If we're willing to get down there together in the dirt and let our hands get black with soil. And cry and grieve and heal and move together and face our history. It is what it is. And to keep pushing it away and to keep trying to put it off into the shadows, it's not working anymore, right? Secret's out. The shadows have been illuminated. The question is, what will we do now? And for every one of us, it is to search our hearts, to ask for that understanding heart, and then to search that heart for how it might look for us. And how it might look for us as a community is of utmost interest to me. How can we band together as a community? How can we help heal as a community? How can we contribute to this within our community and all around and in our greater world? The psalmist, I think, said it best in Psalm 73. When I thought how to understand this, it seemed to me a wearisome task until I went into the sanctuary of God. It's when we go into that sanctuary of God that we find truth. It's when we go into that sanctuary of God that we find passion and fire. It's when we go into that sanctuary of God where we cannot say no to what propels us into purpose, into what is right, into what is just, into what is equal, into what is loving, into what is connecting, into what is divine. We know these things when we go in the sanctuary of God. Sometimes we resist going into the sanctuary of God because we may not want to know, but now it's laid bare for us. It's outside us and it's within us. And so there's no running, no hiding anymore. Here we are. What will we do? What will we do? I used to think about what would I have done back in the civil rights movement? What would I have done back in the time of slavery? I don't have to think back there anymore because it's here. The opportunity is here. How will I show up now? And can I look myself in the mirror and say, I did what I could. I did the best I could. It's in the sanctuary of God where we will find what is just. It is in the sanctuary of God where we will find our connection. It is in the sanctuary of God that this will not be a wearisome task, but an energizing one. Because it's right and it's true. And what if we all did this work? What if all of our community did this inner work? What if we walked together on this journey? You know what this sanctuary might smell like? For one, understanding. For one, unity, our namesake. I don't know, and maybe more than anything, I think it might smell like fresh air. We can all breathe fresh air. The breath of God. Let's drop into that sanctuary for a moment and pray. And so I invite you to go into that place within yourself, to that heart that yearns to understand, and that heart that has already come to understand so many things on your spiritual journey. And we give thanks to that God that guides us, that God that gives us this understanding heart, that understands that with an earnest desire in our dreams and in our prayers, and as we awaken from this dream now, this nightmare, into a dream of the future, that it is with an understanding heart that we go. We claim that, we affirm that. I have an understanding heart within me. In the sanctuary of God, we find that we get energized, that it isn't so wearisome anymore, that we feel a sense of connection, we feel a sense of divine flow, and that we can breathe, not just us, but everyone can breathe now, breathe the very life spirit of God, that we can breathe openly and easily and evenly and equally and justly. Thank you, God, for this sanctuary, for this place that we go in and we get refilled again and again and again, and we get new understanding. Thank you, Spirit, for guiding each one of us in our community, for making untold contribution, yet to be revealed, for being a sanctuary that smells like fresh air. And so it is. So let's go together to this sanctuary of God. Let's go together in this power, activating this power of understanding. Let's dig deep within ourselves and really be able to offer this to the world, for ourselves. So together, I have an affirmation for you up on the screen. Let's speak this together. Through the power of God within me, I dig deep and develop a more understanding heart. And so it is. Bless you all.
So I would hope that the mantra that we hear of I can't breathe from our brothers and sisters, that it becomes one of I can breathe. Thank you for the message today, Kristen.
And you're a little out of breath.
Whether you have a joy or concern on your heart today, our prayer chaplains are available to provide prayer support during our virtual patio conversations after the service. You may also contact them by phone and email. Please complete a connection card on the Watch Live page or click on prayer requests at the bottom of the home page. Our prayer team will be praying with you throughout the week. Now let's open our hearts to the practice of giving. Our spiritual home thrives with your continued generosity. So I invite you to prepare your gifts as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. In truth, there is no lack or limitation. Abundance is our true nature. In addition to sending checks through regular mail or direct deposit through your bank, there are 2 ways to give online. You may click the Donate button on the Watch Live page or download the Give app. Give is spelled G-Y-V-E. I invite you to repeat our prosperity affirmation with me. Together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
If you're living a good life, you got something to be thankful for it. If you're living in a rough way, I will pray for you. We're gonna make it through it. Many hands make light work, many prayers brings a new day. Many voices when gathered together, you can't help but hear what they say. Many angels are with us, many prophets have come before it. Now that we've had a taste of peace, we want more and more and more. So come on, people, we can change this together. Oh, say come on, people, and we can change this. Come on, change it together. Change it together. And we'll change it together. Change it for the better. White, black, and brown, come on, look around. You know what, and now we here swim or we drown. And the waves getting higher, but my faith getting stronger, man. All that I know is we're in this together now. So we're in this together. So we're in this together. In this together, yeah. So come on, people, we can change this together. I say come on, people, and we can change this and change it together. I'm gonna change it together. Some change it together. Change it for the better. Cause you know that we are living a good life. We got something to be thankful for. We are living such a good life. We got so much to be thankful for. So much now, so much.
Thanks again to Shauna and Jared of Love Eternal. Really appreciate your music and your energy and the two of you being with us today. And if you'd like to learn more and purchase their music, you can visit them at loveeternal.org. So now as we bless our offerings and each of our givers as well as the gifts, let's take a moment to just give thanks for our ministry and for all of you who continue to support our ministry so abundantly. Let's bless our offering together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, constant flow of absolute good in our lives now. And so it is.
And let's bless our frontline workers and our activists. Frontline workers and activists, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you.
Our children meet each Sunday on Zoom at 10 a.m. and today we have a special video from our Youth and Family Ministry Director, Michelle Chikala, and her darling children, Maddie and Millie. Let's watch.
Hi everyone, Michelle here with Maddie and Millie, the 3 M's, and we're back to share with you what we were learning at Sunday school last week. And we were talking about the sacred elements, and last week we talked about the sacred element of
Fire.
Fire. So what are some things fire does for us?
Cook food.
Mm-hmm.
Keep us warm when we're camping.
Yeah, keeps us warm. Yep. What else?
It cooks our food.
Cooks our food, yeah. What else? Sometimes there's wildfires in nature, right? Fire is a symbol of transformation and of passion and of change and creativity, right? So what were some things do you remember that we learned about it on Sunday?
Phoenixes.
Phoenixes. Yeah, what's a phoenix, Millie?
A bird that can make itself on fire.
Uh-huh.
And it flies.
And it flies. Yeah, and you love phoenixes, don't you? Yeah, because Millie has a very special connection with fire because she's a Leo. And did you want to share with us a fire breath? Okay, go ahead.
So you take it. Big deep breath in.
Deep breath in.
And flap your wings.
Ooh.
It's like you're breathing fire.
Like you're breathing
Like
fire.
you're a fire-breathing dragon.
Ooh, that felt really good. I could feel that right here in my tummy, and I could feel like my fire getting all warm and flickery and fiery. So we're going to invite you all to try some phoenix breaths this week. Whenever you want to fire up yourself and connect with your creativity and your passion and the transformation. Let's do one more together. Ready, girls?
Bye-bye.
Bye, Unity. We love
Bye.
you. See you later.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Are you guys still doing it? Oh, that was delightful and very helpful for us, I think, to have a breath of fire right now and a phoenix imagery from Maddie and Millie and Michelle. And we give thanks for all of the children and the parents and teachers who are gathering. Let's bless them all right now. Children and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light shining within you. Please join me in saying now our prayer of protection, and as we do, let's hold all of humanity in mind. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Wish you could see Peter signing right now. Maybe we'll get him on camera next time.
So stick around until the end of the service. We have community member selfies that you won't want to miss. And we want to see you too. So please send your silent waving videos to office@unityofwalnutcreek.org. And now our peace song.
Thank you all for tuning in today and for your good and understanding hearts. The world needs you. You are the light and the love and the peace on earth right now.
So let your light shine
And have fun and spread joy.
God is so amazing, shining through you. God is so amazing, shining through you. One look in your eyes and you know it's true. God is so amazing, shining through you. God is so amazing, shining through